Sneako.
I don't want to hurt you.
But I will.
What's going on, y'all? Grind to Motivate back in this thing again, man, with another video. And today we're checking out No Jumper because they recently did a conversation with Dub and Supreme Nick Fuentes. And if you don't know who he is, good, man. I just recently found out who he was through a Sneako interview. And I think Rob from Black Light Revelations has crushed him a few times, but I haven't heard too much else about him. Anyway, you know, they basically had a race debate. The whole time Nick Fuentes was just saying opinions. He wasn't giving any factual anything. He didn't have any evidence behind it. And Flakko and AD sat there just like they do on this picture. They sat there looking stupid, like he was dancing circles around them. Have you guys ever seen that scene on Transporter where the dude just sitting there in the middle of the hole, he's getting punched out, and then he just sits there and he falls after getting punched out like 50 times? That's what they both look like. It was like Nick Fuentes would say a point, it would be stupid, it would be untrue, and they would just be like, oh, God, yeah. And then, you know, Adam, I don't know what Adam's really thinking about. I think Adam's a weirdo, and he's a culture vulture. But hey, man, I don't know what to say about Adam. I mean, he was kind of trying to push back on Nick, but it wasn't enough pushback, bro. If you're going to be a white dude, and you're going to be, being in the culture and everything like that, you need to do a little bit more against people that are trying to make the people that have brought you up to this point look bad. You get what I'm saying? You can't be having this guy out here just coming and saying anything. And he might get y'all banned. I don't know, because he be saying some crazy stuff. But anyway, man, we're going to get into this video, and we're going to look at certain points that he said that I think were stupid or wrong. And, maybe if you are you're a silly white dude, or, a non-black person, or you are a coon or raccoon, maybe I'll have you think critically next time instead of being a bot and just listening to whatever this guy says. If you hit, a hit dog will holler. But hey, man, if you're able to sit there and be like, hey, man, I was not thinking a little critically, I could do a little better, then this video is for you. But let's get into it.
These videos from World Star or whatever on social media of black people fighting on planes. And, and I don't know, I mean, you're going to pretend this doesn't exist, like these videos of black people fighting everywhere at Disney World, at the airport, at restaurants. What's that?
Everybody fights everywhere.
Not like that. Not.
I just seen a white hit somebody, bam, in the back of the head on a plane.
Yeah, come on, Nick.
It happens everywhere.
Yeah, it's not to say that black people are the only people.
It's not just black people. Everybody fights everywhere.
So you're into, I mean, listen.
It's not no denial. It's the truth.
It is denial. It is denial. To say that that's not like a black phenomenon. So you're saying only black people fight at Disneyland and fight in airports and airlines? I'm saying that when I go on social media,
you with the truth, not what you see on social media. Where's the facts? I can show you videos right now where white people, black people, Mexican people, Asian people, everybody's fighting everywhere.
Yeah, okay. I know everybody fights, but I'm just saying what I see on social media.
Why single out?
It happens more with black people. It happens way more with black people.
So right there, I would say that AD, he held his own right there. I think that he tried his best to push back. It was nothing really that you could say because there's not anything that's concrete. There's no concrete stats or anything out there, I guess, that would tell you, oh, who's fighting the most out here in these streets. And Nick Fuentes, it just shows that Nick Fuentes is an idiot who looks at whatever social media tells him and he doesn't go and do any more research or go look at other things. You're looking at World Star and you're getting your news off of World Star. World Star first was owned by a non-black American. So, of course, he's probably in there just trying to throw whatever kind of mess he can to, just kind of make things look silly. He might be for black people and everything in a way, but at the same time, he's like, well, look at how the black Americans go. I think he was an African dude or a Jamaican dude or something. I don't know. But you can't really go and use that. And now World Star is owned by a white man. So there's no way that you could sit there and be like, oh, yeah, World Star is a perfect example. World Star is going to be biased. And obviously when people film stuff, they're going to be filming stuff that's around their area. White people fight all the time. We see it a lot. Actually, we see it quite a bit. They fight for stupid stuff, Karen stuff. They fight on airplanes like AD said. They're fighting at football games about stupid stuff like teams. These folks ain't in your team, brother. These people have nothing to do with putting no money in your pocket, taking care of your family, but you're fighting about, yeah, the Eagles, yeah, dude, or the Eagles won. You like Boston? We're going to fight. Bro, come on, man. Are you serious? Everybody fights. And white people, they might not fight at school and everything like that, it might be mostly black people, but they fight at them little parties and stuff like that. I done been to some of them. I done been to at least one for sure. My homeboy Mike took me to one, and I was like, I ain't never going to a white guy party ever again. They do fight. That's when they fight. They be like, yeah, Bobby Jacobs wanted to fight me, dude, so I whooped his ass. Yeah. And he's, yeah, man, y'all be getting drunk, y'all be doing all kind of drugs, and y'all be kids in high school. So come on, Nick, stop the madness, man, acting like y'all ain't degenerates yourself sometimes. Everybody has that degenerate parts of their culture, degenerate people in their culture, bad actors in their race. It is what it is. You can't just sit here and act like black folks are the only ones. There are a bunch of regular black people out here. Let's go.
See, I came up to the same conclusion before I even knew Nick when they were talking about the Stop Asian Hate Crimes in New York City. And then I talked to every single Asian person. And like I went to these protests and it made me really upset. I watched all the videos, and the uncomfortable truth was Asians were afraid to talk about how most of the attacks, I would say 90% of them, were black people, because it's a protected class. You don't want to come off racist. And so they lumped it in, and they use the crime statistics, which is hate crime. And hate crime is anything. If you say the word, use a racial slur against an Asian person, that's a hate crime. But the Stop Asian Hate Attacks was like when an old Asian lady gets pushed over into the train tracks, or an old Asian lady gets punched in the head 40 times. And if you look at what race is doing that, it was black people. And the reason, whatever justification you want to make for it, overall in New York City, there's more bums, there's more homeless people, there's more poor people that are black than other races. And so that's why poor people commit crimes more often.
So, Sneako, your bitch ass really thought you did something right there, man. That tells me right there that you are truly a racist guy. I'm glad that they deplatformed you off of YouTube, bro. You are so lame in so many different kind of ways, and being racist is also one of them. But, man, Don already disproved that, what you said right there. He came and looked up the stats, but you didn't. You saw a bunch of propaganda. And to all my Asian folks out there, I'm not saying that it wasn't an uptick in violence against Asians, because yeah, it was, because they was like, oh yeah, man, they're the ones who caused the disease, the China virus. Donald Trump said it. So yeah, of course it was an uptake. But then you have to think about it. The propaganda of them they only put black people up there. They only put black people on the news. But then when you come and you look at the stats,
hate crimes and incidents from both before and during the pandemic have been white. Oh shit! I wasn't expecting that. Whoa, wasn't expecting that. Red alert, red alert, red alert. Here we can clearly see. Let us.
And I know Sneako tried to specify New York, so I went ahead and pulled up some a New York article that's recent. We see it's 2022, and it says New York man charged with hate crimes for attacks on 7 Asian women. And it says the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has announced hate crime charges relating to assaults against 7 Asian women in New York City in February. Stephen Zhejiang, 28, has been charged in New York State Supreme Court with 6 felony counts of assault in the 3rd degree as a hate crime and 7 counts of aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree as a misdemeanor hate crime. On 27th of February, it is alleged Zhejiang punched, shoved, and elbowed 7 Asian women in Manhattan without provocation. And does Stephen Zhejiang sound like a black dude to you? He ain't black. I looked him up. He looks like a Hot Topic beta male incel. So what are we saying right there? And I think Sneako tried to go ahead and dumb it down to New York because he felt like that would be a better way to make it like, oh yeah, home it in on the black folks, home it in on the black folks. And I'm not going to sit here and be like one of these dudes that's so extra about black people that they just don't even realize the flaws of our own people. Like, you think we're above reproach? Nah, bro. Like, I know we have a bunch of idiots within our race and everything like that, and a bunch of really hateable people, quite frankly, to be honest. You got your coon guys that's destroying their own neighborhoods. You got your coon guys that just a straight coon. They hateable too. You just got a whole bunch of lame guys, period. So I'm not going to say that. And the one dude that did punch on the lady, man, he was a sucker. He's lame as hell. Tamel Esco, whatever. He must be from somewhere else. He don't sound like an FBA dude. But, yeah, I think Sneako tried to dumb it down, man. And it's, you know, I think by just saying New York, you know, you're cutting out all the rest of the United States. New York is not the only part of the United States, bro. And then also you're saying bums and criminals like that represents all the black people? Come on, Sneako, do better again, bro. You a straight sucker for real, man. But I do have another article that I found on LA.gov, so we'll go ahead and check that part out too and see who's committing most of the crime. Yeah, it might be LA, But I'm pretty sure we can pretty much get this for everywhere in the world. Because I don't know about you, but where I'm at, black folks don't really have they don't have too many issues with Asian people. I mean, like I've said in previous videos, I've never had a friend that was like, man, I can't wait to go and beat up goddamn Lee Kang, goddamn. I've never heard that ever in my life. No one's ever been like, yeah, I just can't wait to be with an Asian dude, goddamn. We don't have issues with Asian folks like that. We actually like Asian folks. If anything, it's them other folks. But anyway, I'm going to get to reading. So it says there were single cases in which there was evidence of white supremacist ideology down from 3, or where the suspect was identified as a gang member down from 4. And yeah, let's think about how this even started. So the guy who started the whole thing was a white dude. It was a white dude who went to different massage parlors and all that kind of stuff. And he gunned everybody down. And it wasn't even about the China thing. It was just about, I don't know, he was just a beta male. He was just a super beta male. He probably was listening to Nick Fuentes, and he's probably like some of you beta males that follow Nick Fuentes blindly and don't have a mind of your own and don't think critically. He was one of them kind of guys. And he's a loser too. Nick Fuentes is also a virgin, just like that dude was he was like an incel. Nick Fuentes is an incel as well. So yeah. In cases in which a suspect was identified, 42% were white, followed by Latinos, 36%. Whoa! And African Americans, 19%. Wow! But look who they showed in the media the most. Wow. I didn't really see no white folks. I didn't see no Latinos at all. Gosh. And shout out to balance people who think critically like Black v Silver, because he actually did a video talking about that, and he showed a little bit of everybody. He didn't just sit there and be like, black is black, black. He showed a white man, a Latino man, a this guy, that guy. Yeah, man. So, yeah. Then it says here there was a lone crime in which the suspect was an Asian man who asked the victim if she was Indian, then snatched the hijab off her head. The previous year, the largest number of suspects in anti-Asian crimes were Latinos, 42%, followed by whites, 32%, and blacks, 26%. So there's never been a point where we've been just trying to crush Asian folks. Or at least where we were the ones that were doing it the most, when, it's obviously the white folks. And that tells you a lot about the things that Kanye has been saying recently on the media is true. They're constantly trying to make us look bad and glorify bad things that we do. And they're kind of, trying to make that be what our culture is centered around, when that's not it at all. And then you have idiots like Nick Fuentes sitting up saying this kind of stuff. On the next portion, it says this is significant because naturally there has been speculation that African Americans were most frequently suspects in anti-Asian crimes. 45% of the anti-Asian hate crimes took place in the city of Los Angeles, and a significant cluster occurred in the South Bay. The remainder were spread out throughout smaller cities and unincorporated areas, from municipalities with a majority of Asian residents like the San Gabriel Valley to places with very small Asian populations like beach cities and Santa Clara Valley. So, that lets you know these folks are really just out to get us in all kind of different ways, man. I also found this during my search, and it was a graph of who has the most hate crimes put against them. And as you can see here, anti-black is at the top of the list, followed by anti-white, then anti-Latino, then anti-Asian. And it's funny that anti-Latino is lower than white. And, we're sitting up talking about this black and brown and all this kind of stuff like they're in the same boat as us. It's not exactly the same boat. And I do understand that there are a couple, 2-3 Mexican folks that are cool as hell. Most of the Mexican people I've met in my life are cool as hell. I'm not going to lie, man. But there are a lot of white Mexicans like Nick Fuentes who think that they're a better than the rest kind of guy. So I don't know about that. I it's kind of hard to sympathize with those kind of guys. When you got people like him and Nuri Martinez talking the way they talk about us, man, it's hard. But then, you got anti-Asian as the lowest amount of hate crimes, which is, it's funny to me, man. It's like, Joe Biden was real quick to put a hate crime bill out for them when it's been years and years and years of black Americans getting done wrong in all kind of different ways. And Sneako talking about, you might just have said something to them. No, it's not, dog. You did something to these folks. These folks got something did to them. So shut the hell up, Sneako. You're an idiot. And like I said, I say it all the time, man. I have no issues with Asian folks, and I don't really know nobody. I don't know anybody that has issues with Asian folks. But Sneako.
I don't want to hurt you.
But I will. again, like, he's not wrong. Like, we're 14% of the population, and we're responsible for 50% of the violent crimes. So he's not wrong. Like, we commit violent crimes more than any other race. But I guess where AD point is.
So I think it's whack that Flakko just sat there and just conceded defeat to Nick Fuentes like that. He didn't even try to do no research or nothing. Like, why didn't these guys come prepared? You knew who you were dealing with. I'm pretty sure they've seen him on different things. He was on Sneako's show before. He was on Destiny's show before, talking some straight BS. And they didn't go out there and be like, hey, man, we're going to disprove his point. We're going to have an ambush ready for him when he come on here. They wasn't ready for that. They just got crushed. And then I went and did some research myself, and I found this. And it's the estimated number of arrests by offense, any race, 2020. And yeah, it's 2020, but I don't think much has changed in the last few years. So let's go and check it out. Well, of course, we got all offenses. We got the white folks doing the most, and then black folks after that. But then we got murder and non-negligent manslaughter, white, 5,000, and then black, 6. So yeah, we win that one. But then we have grape. That's not an answer because I guess, you can't really tell who's lying and who's not out here in these streets, unfortunately. Robbery. We've got white folks, and then we got us. Okay, so we win right there. Then we have aggravated assault, and then we have white folks winning that one by, a pretty considerable margin right there. Burglary, they're winning that one by a pretty considerable margin right there. And wouldn't you agree that if you're willing to burglarize somebody, you'd be willing to, blast somebody away if they got in your way, or you'd be willing to commit something violent, right? You're burglarizing after all. So yeah. We've got larceny theft. White folks are they're destroying that. Y'all are killing it right there. Motor vehicle theft. Oh, wow. Look at you guys. You guys been watching too much Grand Theft Auto, huh? Arson. Wow. Arson's a violent crime. Arson's absolutely violent. Imagine you set somebody's house on fire, their kids was in there, and you didn't know it. Oh, God. Wow. Simple assault. We got them Karens out there. You mad because you didn't get your chicken. It didn't come with the gluten-free. It didn't come with the gluten-free bun. Ha! Ah! Then we got forgery, counterfeiting. Okay, yeah, that's, y'all are in power, so y'all can do that kind of BS. Fraud, embezzlement. Yeah, obviously that'd be y'all again. But I'll be obviously, we got the deletion game on lock, unfortunately, which is not a good thing. Just barely by 1,000. Then we got the robbery, just barely by 1,000 against the white folks. But it's like everything else here would be stuff that you would have to commit violence to do it, right? Add it up. If you're going to carjack somebody, wouldn't that be a little bit of violence involved to carjack somebody? If you're going to burglarize somebody, like I said earlier, if you're going to aggravated assault somebody, if you're going to commit arson, simple assault, those are all violent acts. They can be violent, right? They're not all the time violent, but most of the time they can be violent. Some of them are all the time violent. But it's just like, come on, bro. And I don't want to hear all this. Yeah, you guys are like 2% of the population to 50% of all the crime. I don't want to hear that, man. Do your research, man. And all y'all little jokers, man, you silly joker. And when I say silly white folks, I'm not talking about all white folks. I know that there are good white people out there that think critically and are decent, even on the conservative side. They just ain't out here just like, oh, I'm following whatever Nick Fuentes said. There's some really fair, cool white guys out here. But to all them silly little dudes, man, you just out here thinking Chicago is the hub or the main epicenter of what all black people do. No, it's not. Come on, man. Are you serious? Come on with all that garbage, man. But let's go.
Simply just fighting at Disney World or at an airport. How do you just attribute that to black people?
Well, and this is where tone matters. When I say I want to chop people's hands off, what I said was, you think about airplanes and airport security and it's TSA and everything because of what, Al-Qaeda, 9/11. I said, well, and this is explaining the joke, kind of defeats the point of it. But I said, well, I'd rather have the Taliban run the airlines and cut off the hands of all the black people fighting on the airplanes and put the flight attendants in burqas than have what we have now, the current TSA regime, where you're going to have black people fighting on the plane and then a male flight attendant in high heels is going to go run and break it up. It wasn't an assertion of fact of like, well, we looked at the data and black people are fighting on airplanes more than anybody, although I presume that's true. I haven't done the research, but I presume that's true. And so that's a joke. And the point is, AD, and I'm a little bit disappointed, if you can't say, like, you know what I'm talking about, if you're going to take umbrage at the fact that I say black people are fighting at the airport in Disneyland and say, well, white people fight too, like, you don't know what I'm talking about. That's just like either dishonest or delusional. I mean, I'm just telling it to you straight up. To say that makes me a racist because I have fucking eyeballs
Oh,
and I see what people say
I didn't call
on
you
Twitter.
anything. I'm just saying it's wrong.
Well, you said it was white supremacists. And see, both of the instances that you guys brought up were kind of jokes.
You didn't hear
taken
white
out of
supremacists
context.
come out of my mouth for any
No, that was the
instance.
question. My question was, can you name something that makes Nick a white supremacist? And both of you brought up jokes that, like, out of context, and the way you're saying it sounds bad, but that's what social media does now. You take things out of context.
I don't think you need much context when you're dealing with a person like Nick Fuentes, who has built his reputation up off of being a racist, off of being a white supremacist. And I don't care what any of you silly guys say. You're going to be like, well, yeah, Nick is based. He's just telling the truth. Shut the hell up, man. Do some research yourself, you sucker. You probably a little kid like Nick Fuentes yourself. But yeah, there's no context. And I don't like the way that AD and Flakko are sitting there kind of like scared, like Nick Fuentes has ability to jump through the screen and do something to them. Like, bro, go a little harder towards this guy. There's no need not to just call a spade a spade. Nick Fuentes is indeed a racist guy. There's no need to play around. You just sitting up here like, he's getting us. He's, oh God, we're the worst. We're the most violent. Like, man, y'all really blew this interview right here, man. Y'all really are some suckers for real, man. And then you got jokers like Sneako, man. He's such a beta male, man. You follow behind any old body, man. Andrew Tate, you follow him to the T and he got you banned. You follow behind this dude right here. You had him on your show, got you banned. I'm pretty sure that was part of it. And the bad thing about it is Nick Fuentes is 24 going on 35. He looks 35. He's aged poorly. I don't know. He's aged poorly. That's all I got to say. And Nick Fuentes, Sneako, you ain't but a year younger than him, and you follow behind him like he's your daddy? Come on, man. You got to have a mind of your own. Sneako, is funny that Sneako says everybody's a bot. I actually got that lingo from Sneako. It's pretty good lingo, but you say everybody's a bot when you're probably one of the most botty boys out there. It's kind of funny. I guess I don't mean I ain't saying he's gay enough, but yeah, you're a bot guy. You are a bot yourself. What are you saying? You follow behind anybody who you think is anybody, or whatever your crowd says to say. You say it. But let's go.
To position somebody in a bad way.
I believe that 100%. You're right.
Right. So, and I think that kind of proves what you just brought up. But like, what belief has Nick said that makes you think that he's a racist or a white supremacist?
With the question though, so isn't like again, I may be like severely misinformed. Isn't a white supremacist just like somebody who thinks that white folks are supreme, right?
Yeah.
So the other races. Well, Nick, like, don't you think that white folks are supreme?
No, and I answered that earlier. And the thing is about, so-called white supremacy is it has to be a materialist worldview. You can, in my opinion, well, actually, that's not totally true. But as far as white people go, for the most part, you really have to not believe in the soul and believe in God to be a white supremacist. You can't be a Christian. You can't be, which is what most religious white people are. You can't be a Christian and say that white people are better than other people, because Christianity is a universal religion. It says in the Bible, that neither Gentile nor Jew.
I think that was dumb that nobody sat there and checked him about that. You absolutely can be a Christian and a white supremacist. When you think about Christianity, it's pretty much one of the building blocks of white supremacy. When they brought us over here in them ships and everything, and they justified slavery, they used Christianity to justify it. Did they not? Oh, they did. They did, right? Oh, yes, they did. And it's not like being a Christian automatically means that you don't do anything bad, man. He's got these folks living in La La Land. Anybody who's following him, you're a duck. He's got you guys ducked out and living in La La Land. Come on, man. Christian folks, they go and they cheat on their wives and do all kind of stuff, man. Just because you're Christian doesn't mean that you don't do anything bad. They do bad stuff all the time. And if you believe in that kind of stuff, it is, hey, man, I'm not trying to disrespect you or anything like that, but hey, Christian people are regular people. I mean, well, I'm not saying being a white supremacist is regular, because it's not at all. You're losing to me. But yeah, man, that's just what I think. I think Christianity is grounded in white supremacy. I think that most of the main religions in the world are grounded in some type of racism. Islam came from the folks, some Arabian folks, and then they had a whole slave trade, and that lets you know how they feel about us. It was black people they was enslaving, so let's not act. I don't know what else. I don't know nothing about the other folks, but yeah, man, most of the religions are. Yeah, I mean, we got the folks that are in control of everything, and we see how they have been treating us. We see what they've been putting out in the media and putting out in the rap songs and all this kind of stuff, and you can't talk about them and all that. So yeah, I'd say that it's grounded in some racism. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let's get it.
Now, people take that to mean like, oh, that means everybody's equal all the time or something. But it means that we're all Christian. We all have a brotherhood in Christ, and we are all equal before God in terms of our soul. For you to say that white people as a race are better than other people, it's like, well, in what sense? Then you'd have to measure it out and attribute supreme value to a particular thing and say, well, if white people are better at something than another group of people, that makes them better as a holistic thing. And that, again, that you have to be non-religious to view it that way. So white supremacy is incompatible with being a Christian. And I'm Catholic. I am Christian. So
Yeah. Now, a better question is, what do you think that white folks are better at, than I guess any other race?
Better than any other race?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that every race has their strength. I would say the white people are very good at literature and architecture and philosophy and
basically everything.
Well,
No,
I mean,
he
lots of
didn't
things.
say anything. He didn't talk about dance.
jump.
He didn't talk about culture. He didn't talk about art. He didn't talk about creativity. He talked about pattern recognition.
So notice that Sneako noted pattern recognition. And pattern recognition is something that you will see if you take an IQ test. And I know it because I went and took an IQ test. And that was a portion of the test. Pattern recognition. So basically what he's trying to say is white folks have higher IQs just automatically off rip. Black folks got lower IQ. That's basically what he's saying, man. Sneako, you whack as hell, man. You guys saw what I just pulled up. I pulled up different African-American literature and philosophers and different architecture that we built before white folks or during while white folks had us under oppression, man. So get out of here, man. And we still do it. We can still do all these same numbers. Just because you see a rapper all the time and that's all they put us up as doesn't mean anything. So Sneako's an idiot once again. Nick Fuentes is an idiot once again. Let's keep going.
Recognition.
So you think that the soul of a black person is to be like a great artist or dancer or what?
Basketball player, football
Well,
player.
no, now you're talking about soul. I think that, black people are great athletes and they're great artists. And that's not to say that black people can't be other things or do other things, but we're talking about the strengths
in general. And I see that this is, I think I just saw the hypocrisy here. See, if we asked AD and your name is Josh?
No, that's Flakko. But you
my
can call
fault.
him Josh.
Well, if we ask Flakko and AD, if we ask you like, what do you think black people are better at than white people? You would both say dancing, music, basketball, and probably make fun of white people for being awkward. And nobody would get mad. Nobody would get mad at that. Everybody would accept that as a universal truth. That in general, black people are better at music. And then Nick says an honest answer, better at innovation, better at architecture. And then it's like, oh, well, so black people can't do it, right? See, you get offended when Nick is truthful about the white race, but you can be truthful about other races and then nobody blinks an eye.
Hey, I have a question though, right? So, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No. So when Nick says that white folks are better at innovation, what did that mean?
Well, here's a good example. Asians, if you look at IQ, we talked about IQ earlier. Asians actually outperform whites dramatically on IQ tests and on math tests. And if you look at some of these tests, standardized tests before university. So if you were to say strictly by IQ and by certain tests, you would say actually that Asians are smarter. Now, would you call me that? Because I say that, would you call me an Asian supremacist? Would you say that I think that Asians are better than everybody because they have a higher IQ in terms of this metric? When I say whites are more innovative, it's because although Asians have very high IQ and are clearly predisposed to being good at math, I know that's like a stereotype, but it's based on fact. They outperform every other group in math. They're not as innovative. And that has a lot to do with their culture. That has a lot to do with their history. And of course, history and culture are, in fact, bound up with genetics.
I don't agree with that one right there. I don't think that culture and history are tied to a genetic code. That just doesn't make any sense. I think that culture and history are learned behaviors. And I think genetic code is a whole nother thing. If I had a kid or a J, let's say I was a J and I had a kid and the kid was messed up, he would be messed up because I had him pumped full of drugs. I was on drugs when I had the kid. So that's why he's messed up. It's not a part of his genetic code.
And if anything, what I think will mess up a genetic code is if you get married with your cousin. It's like that messed up your genetic code.
Oh, ooh.
to maintain your purity of your bloodline.
Whoa.
And then instead you have like those, weird ass kids that have lower IQ.
The royal family.
So, and also back to his point about what like American or white people being more creative, Asian people being smarter. I don't think that's not definitely not part of our gene. That's more like part of the culture, what we value the most.
Right.
So like, for example, in Asian culture, we value education a lot. So we want to make sure the kids are having good grades at school. So part of that is being able to do those like logic questions well,
Yep.
which is why I feel like a lot of kids are doing great with those IQ tests, because they get trained at a young age.
Didn't you say your dad used to make you do that all the time?
No, it's a fun thing I do with my dad. Like my dad will be in competition with me.
Y'all hear that? So that's a fun thing.
It's like, because my dad's really busy when I was a kid. And then sometimes on the weekends, he would be like asking me what kind of like questions I'm doing. And we'll be like in a competition to see who fixes those things faster, those questions faster.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Like sometimes I actually beat him. So
Yeah. That's funny.
And then the other thing about creativity, I think that's another thing, because think about it, like I'm not sure about other Asian culture, but it's Chinese, right? At least when I was at school, right, that was like 20 years ago, there's always one standard answer to all the questions. So if you have a different answer, that means you're wrong. So I think at that time, at least, being different or being creative or having an alternative answer is not something being valued by our education system. Nowadays, it's very different. Nowadays, it's like the schools are encouraging kids to like speak up more, finding a different solution. So I would say, honestly, I think kids nowadays are probably more creative than my generation, just because that's the way they were brought up. Is it because they have better genes? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think it's more about what the culture encourages you, like what the school system encourages you, because those 12 years are very crucial in terms of shaping what you value. Same with like the Black community. You see a lot of elite athletes amongst the Black communities, because that's what I guess the Black cultural values.
You know what's funny about that? So while that is part of our culture, that's also genetic code. That's genetic code right there. So if you want to talk about somebody being special, no, genetic code, our physicality is a part of our genetic code. Being smart and all that kind of stuff, that would be us. We can go in there, we can learn that. That's part of your culture.
But that's the thing. I feel like when a kid, as I learned, when a kid is like their first 3 years, from 0 to 3, that's very crucial in terms of like brain development.
Right.
So if you neglect the kid, you didn't really like, try to make them learn more stuff to develop their brain, it kind of hinders how well they can learn as an adult or as a teenager. So that's why I feel like it's definitely not part of genetics, but if you have neglected or not, if you were neglected by your parents as a young kid, as a young child, as a baby, that might hurt how smart, or how well developed you would be, like IQ wise.
Do you think the white people are the most innovative?
No.
Right.
No, but I think the culture encourages them to be innovative. So it's like, you can't say like Asian people, I would say Asian kids grew up in my generation, my parents' generation. It's not something that's valued, or it's not something encouraged. You should not be different than everyone else. You should just be the same, conform. That's the norm. But nowadays it's different.
Behavior is bound up with genetics. We say things like the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. What does that mean? Children are like their parents. And there's a question about, is that nature? Is that nurture? It has a great deal to do with nature, more so than many people care to admit. And the point is, so Asians, although you could say in one sense they're smarter, you said better than other groups, they're maybe not as innovative. That's why they steal American technology. That's why they struggle to do a lot of things the Americans do. And so the point is, and I get back to the previous point, all human beings, I believe, have inherent dignity, and they have a soul, and they have a brotherhood and universality and equality before God. But that does not change the fact that there are inequalities between peoples and groups on various different things. But would you say that because Blacks are better athletes, that they're the best race? Would you say that because Asians are the best at math, that they're the best race? Or because, whites have the finest literature, that they're the best? Who's to say? Those are all material things. Those are all based on, material conditions. If you have a religious view, then we're not just material, we have souls. And so we should be afforded rights and respect and dignity based on the fact that we're all human beings.
So that's the end of the video right there. And I hope that some of y'all silly jokers that follow behind him, or maybe you were a closed-minded white dude before that, maybe you'll sit there and you'll think a little bit more critically next time and think about your own experiences in life and different variables and how that might affect you. What do you got, Edgy?
I'm just going to talk about the apple doesn't fall far from the tree point. It's like we are like our parents because we observe them. And growing up, they taught us how to think certain ways, what's right and wrong. So I think that's a learned behavior.
Right.
That's something taught by our parents to us. It's not something determined by gene. Because if I'm adopted by a different pair of parents, then I probably will act like them. You know, because it's just, and I might look like my biological parents. That's determined by gene.
Right.
But how I think, what I'm good at, how I act, that's learned.
Exactly. So I think Nick put up a bunch of pseudo signs right there. Yeah, Nick, you are definitely a white supremacist and a racist. Sneako, you whack as hell, man. I just found out that Sneako he's mixed with white, Asian, and black, and I guess he took on his white side the most. I guess a little bit of Asian in there, but for the most, he's taking his white side. So, Sneako, you need to do better, man. That's why you got banned. I wish the worst for you, actually. I don't know what to really say to you, man, but yeah, man, I think Nick is full of BS. I think that AD and Flakko, y'all need to tighten up. Adam, you need to tighten up too, since you sitting there. You supposed to be white and supposed to be able to be the smartest and all that. You should have been sitting there trying to refute his points and talk a little bit better, especially since you're supposed to be, you know, you've been brought up because of our culture, bro. Point blank, period. We're the reason that you're even where you're at right now. So you need to be sitting up trying to talk good about us, bro.
But I feel like that's his style with all these interviews. He just sits behind. He
He doesn't.
Starts smoking.
He talks a lot.
He kind of, but also it's like he has 2 black guests, or I don't know,
Okay,
the co-hosts.
and
Those
you know
people
what
are
I'm
supposed
gonna
to
say?
speak up. They're stupid
You're
as
right.
fuck.
They're stupid. They're stupid as hell. And you know what else I'm going to say? I'm going to say that maybe that he probably sat back because he thought, oh, yeah, you know, they're going to say that I don't have any business talking about this.
No, he doesn't want to add anything into this. He just want to, have a clear cut.
He just wants some content.
Whereas the other 2, they're just like, I kind of agree with you. You're right. Like, you're right. I'm African. African people come to the state. They do act dumb. It's the language barrier. They don't even speak the same language. Culture's different too. Of course, they're gonna act awkward because it's totally different. Like they're terrible representation.
Terrible representation, man. And so yeah, for the like I said, for the closed-minded, silly white guys out there, and anybody who's non-black, and even the raccoons, I hope that you're able to sit here and think about this and think critically next time you just want to rope everybody into one. And as far as all the raccoon black dudes, when Nick Fuentes is talking about black people, he's including you too. Nobody's out here like, oh yeah, it's just black Americans or it's just Africans. They include us all in one. So they see that you're black, they think you're dumb too. So stop playing, and you better be smart out here in these streets. That's all I got to say. If you watched up to this point, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Nick Fuentes is dumb, and I'll see y'all next time.